Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. Nice, robust group. Excited to get into conversations with all of you. Mercy and I were to joint host this, but she had an unavoidable situation come up that she is attending to. So Vanessa and Amelia are here as members of her subcircle and also just fantastic members of Catalyst to help sort of just help our conversation along. So to give you some backstory to the question of the purpose of this meeting is 2 or 3, it was March 30th, we had an after town hall, joint after town hall, because we noticed through the Catalyst process, like we do every fund, that there were some things that could be improved, some things that from beginning to end, that if we thought about collectively, we would be able to find things that were implementable and find ways to just present the opportunity for solution. In Catalyst, that's also always a little bit self-driven. So some things we can just start out and work on. Some things will require more of a process, like a proposal process. Some things require collaboration with IOG. And so we just started this conversation of looking at and sensing those things and being really thoughtful about ways that we might provide solutions for those things. And as a result of that conversation, we took the recorded session as well as a document that had its origins in the chat from that conversation. And we made an overall sort of a collective sensed issues document and also a Discord channel in Swarm so that the group could continue to talk about it, which I think for the most part we have. So we agreed that we would follow up in 3 weeks with the second after town hall, and that is this after town hall. If you're not in the original after town hall, don't worry, because there's plenty of stuff to talk about still. And it's also always a little bit of a, we want to facilitate here the conversation, but it's up to the community really what things we choose, and hopefully we can come together and maybe have a little bit of guidance as far as how we think about which things should present themselves chronologically based on what we can actually solve for and based on what might need to be something that comes along in the future. So I'll stop there and I'll just open for Vanessa to comment as well, because we've talked a little bit about how to frame this meeting without directing it. I think it's a really important part of this process, that it's very much an open discussion, but also that by the end of it, those who are enthusiastic about certain things or those who are already working on certain things can find collaboration and can have a path to actually implement some of the things for Fund 9 that would make a big difference. So I'll stop there. I'll just open it for Vanessa or Amelia to comment. And as you guys do that, I will find the actual document right here and put it in the chat so that people can look at it and we can think about it further.
I think let's just go for it. Let's just have the free for all.
Great.
I haven't got anything particular to say. Is there anybody here who is not aware of the Discord group that came out of the last session? Because we can put a link in the chat if people need it, but I think everyone's there, are they? Probably.
Please link it. I'm not there.
Okay, let me find it. Hold on.
And
I'll
does
do
everyone
that.
hear me now directly in both channels?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I got it here, Vanessa, because I was going for the document, so I'll just stick it in.
Cool. I mean, looking at the document, there's certain things that have emerged as creating the most comments and the most ideas, but they're not necessarily the most important things. I think we're going to have to do a bit of prioritizing because there was a lot that came out of the last session. That's my feeling. And I think maybe it's about what people think is the most urgent things, the things that we think we can actually have some impact on for Fund 9, you know? But I think the main thing, if I'm going to say anything, just speaking as like part of the Funded Proposers Subcircle, I just want to make sure that we hear it from all the perspectives, like CAs, BCAs, Funded Proposers, voters. So anybody, when you're saying anything, just have a think about how it affects the other side of what, you know, you're speaking from the group that you're part of. So just think about how it affects the other groups as well. That's all.
Very good. And how we went about organizing this is we did it chronologically by the process. So we started all the way up here with challenge teams. We started ultimately with sort of a review of positive things from Fund 8. Then we had some comments on the challenge process, proposal process, CA and VCA, and then we had just a comment or two about auditing. But considering that the proposal process and the challenge teams process will kick things off, and then we go through the process over again, it might be helpful to really think about the proposer section as well, with some emphasis here since it's coming up the soonest. But I also like reinforce what Vanessa just said about let's put our different hats on and our different experiences across funds. Go on.
Yeah, Vanessa already said that everything you say is gonna set the direction. And for me, I also feel like it's maybe at first a question of is direction is still necessary, in a sense that we don't want to go into an issue and then plot it into a timeline or a product, but instead look at things as a whole, as you presented right now, said like we could start as a challenge, but now I think maybe there is also why I would say maybe proposer is a better starting point, because the proposals are challenge settings, because we have two distinctions of proposals, and perhaps going to the roots in a sense, like if we create the challenge setting, then issues there will kind of go into proposals, then proposal issues, what's going to come up will end up in CAs. So I would like to direct ourselves starting with the beginning, but yeah, I'm open to suggestion and feel somebody who feels different.
So I'm just jumping into the conversation quite late, right, to this conversation, and I've just run through the sensing document, and one issue, and I don't know if it's the right time to mention one issue that I face with Catalyst. I think I've got a few decades ahead of a lot of the people in the community, so I feel a little bit like I'm a little bit older, and I'm struggling with that. Let's say even in the Cardano community here in Dubai, most of the people in the group we have, in the Middle East group, we have about 200, and you know Nadim's organized it, and we have a WhatsApp group, and sometimes I feel like I'm the old timer here. But one of the issues that I faced as a community advisor, and I have a lot of, let's say, insight to offer to digital, because that's my field. I'm a digital transformation expert, so I look at some of these projects, and I can see some of the feasibility issues and so forth. So I went and I assessed about 33 different proposals, and they all got rejected and by the VCAs. And I'm very, very economical with my words. So it turns out that I think that it's very hard for the VCAs to audit. They're just, it seems, and this is my question to you, because here I saw a note saying, some people writing 2,000 words, because from speaking to other members who have assessed, they feel like the more words you give, the more chance you have of your assessments being graded highly or excellent. Whereas mine were all rejected because I was very economical with my words. But if someone had maybe read them, they would have seen that they had some value. So I'm still trying to understand how to go about, and whether I would do this again. I invested about, I don't know, 15, 20 hours, assessing. and I had some free time. But I'm just wondering, you know, this process, and if anybody can provide feedback. I might have missed some of the, because I attended Catalyst School, TiVo was there, and so I tried to understand the process, but I think towards the end, that's where things where number of words, minimum number of words and things were discussed. And for me, it's always about quality, not so much quantity. And now that I see that somebody did mention it in the sense, in the sensing proposal, where, sensing document, that's saying some people writing 2,000 word essays. So I just want to know where does the community stand on this? You know, how can the VCAs audit these assessments, and is it based on number of words as well? And did I get rejected, you know, all 33 because I only had 2 proposals that had more than 250 words per category of those 3 categories? Sorry, you know, I hope I didn't go on too long.
This is great. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer that completely, but I think I can say that it's not based on number of words, but it's just that I think VCAs have noticed quite often that short assessments tend to be either bots or people who are just doing it by rote and haven't read the proposal. So it's the old thing of correlation is not causation. We can't assume that a short assessment is necessarily dodgy, but I think people do tend to think it might be. And so I don't know, because I haven't seen your assessments, but if they were really, you know, if they were everything they should be and they were just short, then they shouldn't have been filtered out. But that's all I can say.
Thank you, Vanessa. I don't know. I mean, I'm still, you know, investigating and seeing what, you know, what might have caused that for all of them to be rejected, and I'm still finding out from different people what they did right and so forth, and then look at some of the projects that I voted on. I think one thing that I was conscious of is I didn't vote on any projects that I thought, any proposals that were, I didn't assess any proposals that were really, in my opinion, you know, not feasible. And just because they were outrageous, people asking for crazy numbers and not providing enough. So in a way, I felt guilty not giving that feedback to those projects that were really, like, as far as I was concerned, poor. I have 3 proposals in this fund, and obviously I didn't assess any in my categories, but I spent a lot of time thinking about what makes a good proposal. And, you know, I have that sense of ownership, understanding that this is, you know, this is our money and it should be used wisely. And you know, we need to build adoption around Cardano. And so, yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I haven't had much time to really go into it. I found the Excel sheet with all the assessments. I was able to find where mine were. I kind of just did a lookup and saw and found them based on the 33 that I had assessed, and they were just all rejected. But there was no reason given.
I mean,
So
that's really demoralizing, but I think that maybe on the sort of personal level of your particular assessments, I think we're still small enough as an organization, as a catalyst, that you can reach out to individual CAs and just go, you could post on the CA channel like some people have and just gone, can somebody have a look at these and just tell me, like, if there's an obvious reason. But I think what you raise is the wider issue of, is short automatically filtered out, and there's stuff in the comments here about that. But I think you know, there's also stuff, I'm sorry, I'm cutting in ahead of people with the hand up, I'm so sorry, but I just want to say I think there is stuff about length of proposals as well. I think there's something in the document about should there be word limits. People are writing essays, it's crazy. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Okay, maybe just maybe I misunderstood. I thought it was the length of the assessments, so maybe it is.
No, I'm saying about both.
It is the length of the proposals. You're right. Okay, gotcha.
Just as a part of this process, going to ask when we move to someone new with their hand up, all right, Zoe, are you going to talk about this issue or you're going to raise something new? Okay, great. I think it's nice to just exhaust the comments on it before we move to a new topic. Thanks. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering again about the VCA process, because it's not just, or it shouldn't be, at least as I understand, that one person just says, okay, this is this is, I filtered this out because it's not long enough or something, and then, or how does it work? Does that VCAs have a quality assurance together? Oh, and somebody's giving very much background noise. I would appreciate it if you could mute yourself. Thank you.
If I will quickly answer that, I think right now we are in this like a break mode, in a sense that these VCA requirements kind of also got cramped, in a sense that we have now even less VCAs than before. And I think this kind of scrutiny, in a sense, or the rules you created, the disincentives for VCAs and assessors, will now create a layer of this audit trail, who now gets slashed and who not, because people are now speaking up. They do see, oh, I don't get my results. CAs are coming up. Why I got filtered out all of my work? And now you have the audit trail of a small number of people who are actually assessing, and you can see and go now to the person and ask, what did you do that? What was your concern? And I think this takes time, and because this just happened right now, it did happen last fund too, but there was so much more other stuff which now we kind of addressed this time. And I feel like, yeah, well, I couldn't say I, because I wasn't VCA this time, not eligible, but yeah, so I think these kinds of discussions will now create the filter to make these things happen less, where community advisors actually putting a lot of work into this and not getting recognized or compensated, or not, or guided to in case if they make mistakes.
Okay, but okay, so it's just an open problem. But because I'm wondering, on these CA assessments I made, I saw the numbers. I used the voting tool and accessing the assessments after they are assessed is a bit of a trouble too. But yeah, I found out that my assessments were assessed 5 times at least. So yeah, how does this work? If you said it's still a problem, but we had 7 funds with VCA construction working. So, okay, in a small thingy, but it was smaller, but yeah.
The thing here is we don't have like a team who is doing assessments, so we encourage that every VCA takes that as all the assessments, all the 10,000 CCs, and now figure it out yourself. How do you filter them out? And then we have like this guiding document, how should you do it, how you should put your thought into this. But there are different people, different time perspectives they have. Some people have only a few hours, but they want to do a lot of work. They have like statistical, analytical skills, and they look very high level of stuff. Compared to all of these assessments, these are pretty, I don't know, bad, and some are coming to here to game the system, just quite literally. And like, hey, if I do this, I'm most likely to get rewarded the most. And some people most likely are trying to find the like middle way that they don't get detected, but they don't push. And we have so much like gaming in between. I haven't myself looked into the data, but yeah, I think this is what causes these kinds of problems for now.
I'll just add in, as I mentioned here too, and that, you know, the question, each fund, new things arise, we grow significantly, new tools are added, new processes happen, new people come to the system. So as Tiva mentioned, we solved for some things, the group solved for some things that happened in Fund 7, which were eliminated here in Fund 8. But then new things arise and new challenges, so new things come into place, and then that gets evaluated, sort of part of this process. But the lesser number of VCAs also was because we sacrificed adding volume of them in order to have more of a process of becoming a VCA in this fund as well. So these are adjustments that happened over this time, and were part of the desire to not put so much in place that you make the structure rigid and take away collective contribution, but put enough in place that you prevent things that could really disturb the process. So I'll just add that there, and then William and then Naveed, you guys have your hands up. Zoe, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm making such a complex thing out of it, but my question, and after that I will take my hand down. Really, how does the VCA assessing and quality assurance work in means of how is it communicated as those groups of VCAs that or come together on a CA assessment? How are their voices like managed to either assess the assessment collectively as excellent, good, or filtered out? I don't get it yet. And if you could explain like M5, I would be very happy.
You're asking for the actual process. I see Mark, you put your hand up. Do you want to speak? Is that what you're having your hand up for? Go ahead.
Yes, I would like to. Hi, Zoe.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, things may disorient, you know. So VC process is to prove that CA did their job accordingly to the guidance. So when we have this assess stage in the idea scale, every single community advisor that's signed up to become community advisor assess proposals. After assess stage, we are exporting all the assessments in the file, and we are creating a proposer master file for proposers to flag bad assessments, because this is a very helpful insight for VCAs to proceed. So then proposers have like 4 or 5 days to flag bad assessments and write short rationale why that or this particular assessment should be filtered out. And then every single proposer that completed their work, they have to send back their files, a copy of their files to us. Then we are aggregating everything in one VCA master file. In the VCA master file, you will find every single assessment made by community advisors and proposer flags with rationales next to the assessment that is being flagged. Then veteran community advisor is supposed to make a copy of that make a copy of that VCA master file, review all the assessments, and or not all, review as many assessments as VCA wants to, and review it and flag it as a good, excellent, or filter it out. They are not communicating with each other. They are working individually. They have also this long guidance how to do veteran community advisor work properly. What are the rules and the guides, basically. And they have 10 to 12 days to do their work, to do the quality assurance of the assessments made. And then again, we are asking all the VCAs to send copy of their files back to us. And then we are merging all together into one file. And that one file you can see, it is public now, and it's called VCA aggregated file. There you will find all the agreement between VCAs, because let's assume that you wrote one assessment and your assessment has been reviewed 5 times. So 5 independent VCAs checked your assessment and rated it. Every single VCA could rate it differently. One could think that this is perfect, this is excellent. One could think that it should be filtered out. And then we are taking the majority of votes. So let's say 3 out of 5 reviewed your assessment as a good, 1 as an excellent, and 1 as a filter out. So the final score of your assessment will be good because majority wins. And that would be it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Glad I could help.
Nice.
We're going to take that excerpt and put it on YouTube, at least forever, until the next fund. Thank you, Mark. Thanks, Zoe. I think we probably didn't understand what you were asking, so I'm glad we got that straightened out there. William.
Thanks, Nadia. So in response to Kareem, I'm with you. I want to figure out a little bit more about how the assessments went. If someone could please post the Excel file so I can look into it. That's really the main thing that I've been looking for, has been feedback regarding the efforts. And, you know, at this point in time, it's a reactive situation, which we never want. We never want to be in a situation where we have to be responding to something we're unsure about after we've put in significant effort. Okay, the link above, perfect. That Google Drive, the aggregated, okay, I'll check it. Thank you. And so, you know, it's this type of feedback coming in advance that will encourage us to be able to provide the best possible assessments coming into Fund 9. And beyond that, we will be motivated because we'll have the feedback that's necessary in order to do it so that it's quality. And it really is more so about the proposals being quality and fulfilling the requirements for Cardano to grow. That's the most important thing, is to see the growth of the community and see really good milestones being hit and deliverables. That's what I'm seeing. You know, what I would love to see in the future, and this is a suggestion, would be instead of having 5 VCAs, they're in charge of all of this unbelievable massive of assessments, would be to somehow provide it to the community to make votes and keep it under blockchain, make all the feedback under blockchain. So at any point in time, we can go to one central hub. Perhaps this exists. So, you know, link it. And that way we can all be in on it and check it out. The idea that I see is the more transparent this becomes, the more quality it will be. The more people that are involved with voting and just integrated, the more we'll be able to get to the point of really quality proposals coming through proactively, instead of coming into a situation that's more so reactive. And like I said, Kareem, I share the sentiment with you that I want to feel like I'm doing an effort that it's going to be not only recognized, but it's going to help the proposals go through so that we can see Cardano grow. That's really it. So I'm going to check this link now. Thanks for listening.
Great. Just to confirm for the recording, there's more than 5. There were 85 VCAs in this session, and some of the assessments had 5 reviews by them, but there are more than 5 there.
My misunderstanding. Thank you.
Yeah, good. That would be a tremendous output for them.
I was going to say that would be insane. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Vanessa.
Yeah, I've just got a couple of questions that I want to raise for us all. First of all, it's something that I've noticed in previous rounds, but it felt more so this time. Did anybody else feel that CAs were kind of trying to give bland reviews or even positive reviews to avoid scrutiny? Because it seems like, or it feels like, negative reviews attract more attention from VCAs. I don't know if it's true, it's just a gut feeling. Secondly, I'm wondering, can anybody explain the next aspect of the VCA process? Because VCA reviews or VCAs can be not given rewards if their views are not in conformity with everybody else, I think. Are we penalising diversity of thought by that? I don't know. I don't understand the thinking behind it, and I never have. And I wonder if somebody else could say where that comes from. And the third question I have is, do we actually know how much voters actually value or use CA assessments anyway? We have this gut feeling that a high CA rating makes you more likely to get voted. Is it an actual causal relationship or not? And I guess maybe does this spin on to the idea of if DREPs come in, will people still need CA reviews? So I'm just throwing questions, really. That's it.
Did any of you put your hand up in response to her questions there? And if so, go ahead. Or anyone who doesn't, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the I can't remember the exact requirements for the CA, number of words, etc. But I remember being a little bit shocked by it because I was like, I don't have enough words in my vocabulary to do this. And so this time I only assessed a handful of proposals. And so I thought the requirements, would have forced me to just throw verbiage out there that was unnecessary. And it may be that other CAs thought you need X number of words or I'm going to filter it out. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Dwayne, and then Sophie, and then Naveed. Hi, Dwayne.
Yeah, hi. So I've been at this for a while. I'd like to say that from my perspective, Fund 8 was a total disaster. You've built in a system with a new reputation and qualification system for VCAs that encourage VCAs to filter out as many proposals as possible. This gives them effectively you create an old boys network where only the VCAs who are currently VCAs, by filtering other people out, they make sure that nobody else can join the club. They have undue control. This was shown by 43 out of the 85 VCAs eliminated, filtered out over 40% of the proposals, the CA assessments. Some of them were in the 90s. Like, this is insane, right? If a group of 80 people are able to quash diverse views that effectively, you've created a broken system completely. That's all I want to say.
Maybe we'll go through all these comments and then we'll sort of make space for a response to them. Does that sound good? Sophie.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to add to that because I have kind of the same feeling that it was already a bit tricky, sort of the whole CA thing, and there was questionable things going on. But I feel that this round it kind of pushed beyond a point that, like, there were some things that happened just on a challenge setting that I proposed that was pretty questionable, and then I started looking into it, and I've been looking into the data ever since, and it's kind of like, yeah, a lot of directions I go, it's, yeah, those kind of things, just some people just getting completely filtered out. And then you look at the assessments, and yeah, maybe they're short, but there's no reason to really, I don't see why they're filtered out by so many VCAs. And then if you look at some of the VCAs doing like thousands of like VCA assessments, right? And then thousands of those are filtered out of very short assessments, right? If you just do an automatic script of whatever is shorter than this, and I'm gonna do it flagged, right? Who is checking that? Like who is checking that, right? That's just an open question, I guess. And then additionally to what was said before is that there's even an extra incentive because there's flash assessments, right? So for example, on the challenge that I proposed, there were 6 assessments, 5 got filtered out, and then 4 got added by VCAs. Regardless of this dropping the score quite a bit. it's also just extra work for them, right? Extra assessments for people who are filtering out other people. And it's just false incentives, right? Even if those people don't want to do anything bad, they're incentivized to just, yeah, go this way. And I think it's been pushed a bit too far. And in general, just assessments on challenge settings, to me, it doesn't make any sense, right? It's like, what do you, it's an opinion, right? It's an opinion on which challenge, but that's a separate thing.
Yeah, so all relevant comments. I think the purpose of this group of getting together is to look at these things and talk about how we will respond to them collectively. So this is the purpose of this conversation. My hope in just sort of facilitating the conversation is that we come to a place of actually having something to decide on in a response, and to think about what that would look like, especially for those who are feeling it's really not serving its purpose. So I hope that we come to that as well here. Zoe.
Yeah, I just thought about again, because it's not sure for me, how the conflict of interest gets prevented with VCAs, because I know that you can't CA in the challenge you have proposed. And yeah, I wanted to ask where there is, or what restrictions there are for VCAs, and whether they apply for both a possible proposer and a possible CA.
Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you. So the restrictions for CAs and VCAs are the same. VCA and CA, who are also proposer, can't assess or assess QA in the challenge that they were proposer or part of the proposer team. And we check that after the assess and after the assess QA stage. Using scripts, we are comparing their user IDs with the proposal IDs they assessed, and we are checking if that proposal ID is not the challenge they assess. I mean, as a VCA or as a CA, you can assess proposals in the same challenge you've proposed idea to, but these assessments won't be included in the proposer master file nor in the VCA master file, because it will be cut off by the script.
Naveed.
Hi. So just want to comment on a couple of things. So I think some really interesting conversation with to be had on the back of Dwayne and you're on my screen, you know, Sophie. So Dwayne and Sophie's comments. But just before I get that, just a couple of clarifications. Joey, the minimum limit. There's no minimum word limit for assessments. There is a minimum character limit, so it's only 150 characters, which is what, I don't know how many words that is, but it's next to nothing. Okay, what we saw in the last 2 or 3 funds was really anything with less than 150 characters. People are saying it's like when your kid comes back from school and says, "How was school?" "Good." And then in the next section, "Good," and the next section, "Good," and my friends beat me up or whatever, right? And it just not giving any value to the voters, not giving any value back to the proposer. So I think this 150 character limit across all three sections of the assessment was put in place. My belief is it's still too small and it should be increased. But that's probably a debate we need to have. But that's the current rule. And to Kareem, on your, I had a look at your, I just had a quick look at your assessments based on you're one of the 3 people who did 33. So I think I managed to work out who you are as a CA, but happy to have a conversation if you ping me in Telegram later. I just posted a link in Telegram to some analysis I did. In general, people are saying there's not a lot of value to the voters, and the rationale is not detailed enough. And I think it's probably a really good conversation for this group to have around where we've come from in terms of having those really poor assessments previously, and have we gone too far? Or are we getting to that point where an assessment that something like Kareem puts in, which is quite short and to the point, and is not necessarily the 1,000 character, the 2,000 character assessment that people are aiming for. I think that's where we came from Fund 6, Fund 7. Let's try and add a bit more rationale across the different sections. So within feasibility, for example, you're assessing resources, budget, milestones, the plan, and you can't do that in 5 or 6 words or even 1 sentence, right? So you're looking at 4 or 5 sentences, which automatically gets you to 1,000+ characters. So I think that's where the thinking came from, and it may be that we're going too strict and too far down that route. And just one further point on something that Sophie said around around the flash assessments. So in Fund 7, we had flash assessments. Post flash assessment, they were further reviewed by VCAs. So there was a self check. In Fund 8, IOG decided there wasn't enough time for the reviews of the flash assessments. So effectively, all flash assessments got given a good, but that was an IOG decision, and that in my view, not correct. We should have allowed time and had that self review. So there's a couple of 100 assessments in there that just got automatically graded as good. But it's probably something that needs to be brought into the process formally, because we just changed from Fund 7 to Fund 8 on a whim, it seems. That's probably, apart from Dwayne, it'd be useful to see your analysis. I don't know if I can connect with you on Telegram. It's not, I've done quite a lot of analysis on the CA and VCA work, but not the particular point you spoke about. So maybe I'll contact you afterwards.
Yeah, sure. Feel free.
Thank you. That was it.
Go ahead, Dwayne.
Okay, so there was a bunch of, if you go through the VCA rationales, they all gave very generic ones. Doesn't add value to the voter, something to that effect. So in this one, if you look at what the VCAs were told to evaluate on, they basically went, even if you wrote, even if you wrote a paragraph or more, like none of mine were short, right? They would say it doesn't add value because whatever reason. It was a very bland sort of statement. And that was one of the things in there. But if you compare what was written in almost all the Fund 8 ones, well, not sorry, let me rephrase that. There are a lot of Fund 8 assessments that were filtered out that would have been marked as good or probably even excellent in some cases in Fund 7 or previously. So the strictness of the interpretation of the new guidelines was, well, it was more than a level of magnitude greater, right? And I think, my personal opinion is, it's based upon the new reputation system and that's required to become a VCA, right? So if you filter out more people and they get a poor reputation because of it, then they can't join the club, right? You've built in an incentive system where by basically pushing down other CAs, they can't join the club and you have more control over what's going to get funded. Like there's really is a very, let me put it might be unintentional, but it could also be intentional that there's a sinister aspect to this. Because I'm looking at people here, like I'm looking at some of the stats here, 1,800 proposals, 99% of which got filtered out, right? Like, did we really have that many bots right? We didn't have that in previous ones, right? Like these guys have got some crazy numbers here, 92% filtered out of 2000, right? Like all these guys, almost all of them did over 1,000, and they're sitting in the high 90s and 70s and 80s filtered out. You can't say that there were that many bots. There's no way there's 90% of the assessments were done by bots or were poor, right? Like this is, there's something else at play here. Whether it's intentional or not is a different question. But to me, it looks intentional based upon the incentive structure and the reputation system that you've built. So that's where I'd like people to look, right? So if you're looking at where to look at how to fix it for the next one, you know, if somebody's filtered out, okay, so let me do this another way. So if somebody's filtered out 92% of something, they've probably done it based upon using some sort of script, right? So if we're talking about CAs gaming the system, that's a VCA gaming the system in order to say, okay, so I'm filtering out everything that, I don't know, does a similarity analysis or something that's over 40%. There's something that's, they're doing something in order to get, if you pick 1,800 or 2,000 random assessments, there's no way 92% of them should be filtered out, right? Like that's just, they're doing something that is gaming the system. So I would like to see anybody who's filtered out more than 40, 50%, any VCA filtered that out, they should be called up and said, okay, show us how you came up with those numbers, right? Like if they're not challenged on that, then they're not accountable at all, right? So there's something to be said about the people who have filtered out so much that needs, you know, I think they've broken the system, and they've done an irreparable harm, or severe harm anyway. Maybe it can be repaired, but you know, a lot of people are going to drop out of this, right? So the whole diversity, inclusiveness sort of aspect, that's been shot this round, right? Like I have no faith in the VCA process at this point, and I've been a very active user for the last 2 or 3 rounds of funding, and I doubt you'll see me back. Okay.
Kareem.
You know, it seems I opened a can of worms here, but I'm glad that it's a relevant topic. So I've been scanning through the reviews. First of all, I don't think this is intentional. I have so much faith in Cardano and the community, and the people that I've met have been, you know, just amazing people. So I don't think it's intentional. I just think that when I'm looking at my assessment right now, and I see that I have like 9 goods that, so I was rated good by, and then 14 filtered me out. I'm trying to understand what's the logic behind it. And yeah, I mean, I think the pattern might have been my briefness or my efficiency of words. As a consultant, I don't like to write wordy things that will not be read. I know that from practical experience, people don't read things that are too long. I mean, one note I'm seeing here is that you guys are saying proposals are too long, so nobody has time to read them. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around, you know, what happened, and I hope that and one of the guys that I'm talking to that did well is trying to reach me. I think he's on the call, so I'll get some feedback. I just wanted to say just quickly, I have faith in Catalyst. I think what we're building here is amazing. I'm a big proponent of Cardano. I live and breathe Cardano daily, and promote, and I'm the ambassador or in training for Dubai, hosting the meetups here in Dubai. And I believe that there are many ways that we can grow it. And there's a lot of young people here that are graduating from universities that have the talent that we need, and they should be proposing. So I'm just trying to understand the logic behind it. And for me, it's quality versus quantity. And I just want to be sure that I get the right feedback and correct accordingly. And I hope to be assessing again if I have the time. Again, I had the time this time around because I'm between projects. So I had those 20 hours that I put in. I don't know if I'll necessarily have that for the next fund, but I have a lot of good advice. I'm a mentor to many projects, not only in Cardano, outside Cardano, mostly digital. So I have a lot of advice to give, and I'm just trying to understand what happened.
Dwayne, your hand is up still. Do you want to say anything else?
Sorry, I just forgot to put it down.
Cool. Deva.
I think, yes, there are outliners, but one like problem, or not a problem, but the risk you're doing is you're also generalizing based on like who are like these people who assess thousands of assessments. Because I'm last fund, I also started taking it more seriously, put myself a tool to assess, and I reached almost 1,000 assessments. And yes, there is one risk that you can fall off to this like similarity like analysis, where yes, you need to make a difference between what is a template used but changed according to proposal, and what is a template used to just like sporadically copy paste to all kinds of proposals in order to hit or miss the target. And I think now there are two levels of this. Is this system itself is flawed, or we are fix it by creating not a bandage but a feedback loop? And because I think we're missing something, yes, it adds more overhead to VCAs if they have to start now kind of like creating more reasons behind why they did something. But one thing is like, okay, perhaps keep this as the same what we did, but have these kinds of open discussions what we have, and create the place where people can come, assessors and proposers alike, to go through these your own proposal assessments, or your own assessment. Like Karim just came here. This is my style of doing community advising. This is the way I help the community. And these other people, they are not necessarily wrong, these VCAs. They are doing their way to try to make, like, help and make sure that these assessors don't abuse the system. And it can be mixed up because we are in a decentralized environment and we don't have any guiding rails except the community like advisor guidelines. Like, compared to innovation fund I've been looking into, what we have in Fiatword, there is 67 like like 60 pages guides for other innovation funds, but they're centralized. So we have like unique stuff where we have more people part of innovation fund, but less guides, like totally just one document somewhere. And that this is very unique position where we put ourselves, because we have like almost no rules, but we still have some rules, and we are creating these rules in our head. How do we want to defend, or how do we want to improve the collaborative ecosystem around? So yeah, I think when you're missing as a solution, I feel like we are looking for some kind of feedback loops to look into and analyze and get these VCAs. They are like D-reps, but just on a different level. They are like assessor D-reps in a sense. To like, why do you make these decisions, how you're making it, and help these VCAs also like improve with the feedback. So I don't know how we could close the loop, but I think all the roles kind of have to speak with each other and give thumbs up or thumbs down on our process.
I'd like to respond to that. So just to be clear, I know I've been the advocate for templates in the last 2 rounds. I did not use a template this round because I thought it was too risky. So this was not an issue. I got 80% of mine filtered out this round, right? I've been at 99% the previous 2 rounds. No template this time, right? It's not looking like it's anything to do, and none of mine were short, right? There's nothing anywhere near the 150 characters. Everything was, paragraph or more long, equivalent assessments to the last time. So I'm not looking at it as any of the normal, even similarity analysis should have been very different. So I'm looking at it saying something's different, right? So that's just my own experience based upon what's happened.
Great.
Yeah, this is, guys, this is a very interesting topic. I urge anyone who's interested in KPIs to read a book by the professor Kevin Kaiser. It's called The Blue Line Imperative. He's a professor at INSEAD. And the whole book is about how when you use KPIs as objectives, you end up killing your business, right? And they give examples of Mercedes, and it's a great book. I highly recommend it. And I think anytime that I do something, I'm really thinking of how to add value. So I don't even have to put myself in the mindset of being a Cardano owner. I am a Cardano owner. I have vested interest in the community growing, the proposals increasing, but yet the quality, obviously, if you're going to fund, if we are going to fund a project, that it be a good project that has a good chance and as to come at least to fruition, right? And we don't know, right? We don't know. We have to be, innovation is really tricky, right? Today, we're at the infancy of blockchain and crypto. I would say we're at the wheel, you know, like we've just created a wheel and we don't know if bicycles are going to be built, scooters, cars, horse carts. We don't know this. We're still at the infancy. So we have to be very mindful, and we have the responsibility as the gatekeepers or the caretakers of this whole process and this whole fund to make sure that we don't stifle innovation. So when I was assessing, I was really looking out for, in the proposals, judging them just the same way that I was judging myself when I was writing mine, which is make sure that I'm communicating how this is going to add value. And if there was a gap, I highlighted it, and I didn't follow the 150. I think most of them didn't get to 250, and I missed that. And if it was 250 characters, and I spoke to some people who said that, you know, they believe that 2,000 characters got you an excellent, and I'm sure those probably got, assessed. I'm not saying bad assessments got reviewed well or got excellent. I think we need to really think about how we are using KPIs and how do we make sure that we add value as assessors. And the VCAs don't have an easy job. Most of mine were assessed by 23 plus VCAs, and I'm sure it's not easy for them to do that work. And only did 33 assessments, and I thought that was heavy. I can't imagine anyone doing more than that. But yeah, if you're working 8 hours a day every day for a week, or I don't know how long we had, maybe. But I really think that we need to think about when we put these KPIs of minimum number of words. I was listening to earlier somebody was saying that, yeah, there were bots, they were like, good, bad. I mean, that's 3 words. Obviously that fails, but how do we now make sure that if we've given some good advice in a few sentences, and it's less than 250 words, I think is the minimum that popped up in the discussion that I had. How do we make sure that is still assessed properly, right? And yeah, so that's my input on KPIs, and we really need to think about it to make sure as we scale, because what's going to happen as we scale? Today, Fund 8 was 16 million, Fund 9 is going to 32 million, I think. More proposals. No, I don't know the numbers. I assume there's more proposals coming. As these numbers grow, how are we going to scale? How are we going to manage all this information? How are we going to do our work to make sure that we get the right ideas out there, and we continue to grow the community and the adoption?
Yeah, KPIs are a tricky thing. Like once you adopt them, they can become a goal on their own. You forget about why you started measuring that. And so about the whole CA and VCA system, so I think one thing is that whatever we're doing now, nothing is perfect, right? And we all kind of accept that, and we're trying to figure that out. I think what maybe is a bit causing some emotions also in this current state is that it is sort of kind of punishing certain people, right? Taking away their work, and that is kind of harsh. Also without warnings about like how you should write them, right? Without communication. And if we accept that it isn't perfect, right? And because also the effort to get rid of proposals that are not up to certain standard is an attempt to make it more perfect, right? To get the voters better informed. But if that leads to only 1 or 2 or 3 assessments being left over and then assessments having to be rushed in without even being checked, right? You end up with the same problem. So if that's the situation we're in, which you can see by the facts that we are, right? That's, can't deny that. Then maybe we should just accept that we can't make it perfect yet, right? It would be super, like the VCA work is super valuable, right? And we should at least look for real malicious use, real bot spamming and that kind of stuff. And finding that is really valuable. But additionally, just people tagging things in quality is really valuable, right? Because that adds data for the future that we can use to actually build systems that will help us automatically sort of guide us in this. And if we collect that data together, then we can build those systems together. And if we focus less on filtering out and more on including different thoughts and directions in adding assessments, right? That's all data, right? That's all that we can use. Like, and it also helps to determine the quality of other assessors. It's much easier to determine them if you have a lot of overlap with a lot of other people, because you can look at how they deviate from each other, and you can look for patterns much more. But if we take out a lot of data, that becomes more difficult. And if we discourage people to become CA, right? And yeah, then it's just I think yeah we're losing something there, an opportunity.
Tom.
Yes. So I've gone through this now and as a challenge fund manager, whatever it is, a proposer and a CA. And some of the rift with one individual or two individuals who had all their VCA work filtered out is distasteful in many ways. But I think in this process of being a CA to a VCA, we have to recognize that everybody is a volunteer, though they do get rewarded for their work and assessments. Now, if the assessments are taken away, filtered out, and they're not getting rewarded, I believe the community may see a fallout of CAs and VCAs. The system, as Sophie said, is not perfect, and we have to accept that. Each fund, and I was lurking for a while, each fund there are improvements. Gamers are being filtered out. Bad players are being filtered out or caught. But the way I see it right now, the incentive program is flawed, greatly flawed. The fact that I don't, but I could have several IDs or accounts, and I could game that way, I think is flawed. This is where SSI or something like that should be used or brought in to limit everybody to one account. I think the incentives need to be fixed. So VCAs, I mean, CAs, the way the incentive is, CAs right now want it excellent, so they're going to be nicer on the proposers. The VCAs want to get, so much done so some of them can make money. I think the incentive program has to be examined and fixed. And I think what has been lost, and I haven't really heard one word on this yet, is the CA program, the proposer program, the VCA program is also supposed to be focused on the voter. And that's what all this work is supposed to be, so we get more voters engaged and can educate the voters. And I think the focus on that may have slipped to the side a little bit. So it may need to be brought back. I forget what the numbers are for the voters in the last fund, how many actually voted. And in this fund, what voter is going to go through, what is it, 1,205 proposals? Is any voter going to read that? So they rely on these 5-star, 3-star, 2-star reviews, I believe, to decide who to cast their vote on. So we need, as a community, we really need to work the system so the star system or whatever is effective for the voters when they come in and to look at the 1,200 different proposals. I'm sorry for the rambling. I'm just talking off the top of my head. I plan to remain engaged with the community, and I only did 17 assessments. It took me on an average an hour and a half for each assessment. And I just looked at the file, and it looks like they're all rated good. I haven't had any, filtered out, so I'm happy with that. And next round, I hope to improve my my review system. Okay, thank you. Tom out.
Kareem?
Just a quick question. Could somebody just explain what the flash assessments are? I didn't quite understand that.
When a proposal doesn't have enough assessments or falls below a certain threshold, 3, I think it was this round, or as 3 or less, then there was a call to VCAs specifically to come and assess those. And those assessments then were just accepted as is. And this was in the list, and some of them went to 5, but some also had like went up to 11 or something like that. So I had a lot of like late VCAs assessments, and yeah, it's not. But yeah, you can look at the list, and people can do that themselves.
So may I? Yeah, I think what's really interesting is as we're assessing these proposals. So putting my community advisor assessor role hat on is, I mean, the idea was to help the proposers, right, to improve their proposals, and then also the part that probably I didn't think too much about is eventually how to guide the voters so that they can vote, right? So I think maybe I missed that aspect. I was focused more on the first part, which is really providing valuable feedback, constructive criticism, let's say, on those proposals, so that the proposers can go back next time, come back with improved planning or auditability or providing more information. And I think it's really interesting to add that second element, which I didn't really think about, to be honest, which is once these assessments once we go into voting, how do people vote, and start to look at that, and how these assessments and the scores will affect how people vote on these proposals. So I think it's really interesting to think about it. But again, thank you for all the feedback, and And for me, it's all constructive.
As we naturally came to a little bit of a lull here with no hands up, I would just offer that there's a lot of strong feelings here across the community and also represented within this group right now. And a lot of different ideas on what went wrong, why it's going wrong, what could be done in response. And so my question for this group then is, where does all of that intention go? How does it get directed in a productive way? Because we could very easily be sitting here talking about these same things again next fund, and that's something that we've been really working to try to prevent and organize around. So maybe we can put ourselves in the mindset of looking at, rather than, I think it's also easy to anticipate that there is like that things are intentionally going that way. And that may be the case for many reasons, right? And we can infer about what those are, but we have data here, we have experience, and we have opportunity. And so how can we put that together and prevent and be proactive for what's coming up here? The same things there's the same feelings of intensity in this part right now also exist in other parts. It's what has caused this document. So for those of you who have looked at it for the first time, these are things that were brought up for the community and have been collected. So they may or may not be priorities that we have to look at, and they may or may not have people who want to work on them, and they may or may not become something until 2 funds from now. So this is a little bit of what is on us to be able to decide and adjust. And I really appreciate the candidness and the intensity of the involvement of people here. So I'll just shut up there and Tero, go ahead.
Mike has his hand up or not?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike. I always miss it because it's in that sunset area. Sorry.
It's the wrong color. I know. It's all right. I just want to, I like the idea of saying, how can we, we can criticize, critique, and take apart, experiences that we've had, but what do we do about it exactly? One thing I want to say is I haven't been a VCA until this last one, and I was a CA for several funds, but didn't do enough assessments, in my opinion, to warrant becoming a veteran, so to speak. So finally, I said, okay, let me. I got the invitation. I did it. I like the idea that you have 200. That you have to do at least. Otherwise, there's a lower limit, right? So I did over 200. I ended up at 310 or something. But I want to just throw out there to people who haven't done VCA work. It is a very difficult job in a sense, because there's such an incredible myriad of different types of writing and different types of things that are being poured into the infinite number of CA assessments, it seems, more and more. A lot of it, I just want to say, I took the role this time to say, okay, I wrote comments almost every time. I mean, even when it wasn't filtered out, I think I don't know. I'd have to go back and see all my assessments and see my VCA assessments, but maybe we could have a requirement that people do have to comment on why they're filtering it out. I don't know, but I feel like if we're having issues with people doing way too many, like how is it physically possible to do X number of thousands of VCA reviews of assessments in so little time or whatever? Same thing with doing CA proposals. I mean, I'm someone who takes at least, I don't know, like people were saying, an hour to do a CA assessment, let's say, and I was taking a lot of time to do VCA assessments, and mainly I would say because, and I'll also say this, I think as we're iterating and growing, I'm a very strong advocate for saying, okay, where's your domain expertise? You should be focusing there, right? So if I'm not a developer or an IT engineer or whatever, I don't feel like I should be working in that realm. And with my background in, you could say, culture, arts, film, etc., right? And business and entrepreneurship and program management and all kinds of other things that I teach at university. But I can say I focused on the challenge that had to do with the film and whatever creatives. And as a CA, I can say it's very interesting to have an aggressive response to my, I would say, very informed critique of someone's proposal as a CA. And I just want to point this out too. A lot of people, most proposers did not go in and give feedback and flags and comments. Sometimes there were comments that were like, "Oh, great, thank you for giving me 5 stars, wonderful." But I found that the only CA review that I had that was filtered out was one that was really criticized by the proposer, and I wouldn't mind making a case study because, to be honest, I had very strong feelings. I am a professional in the field of that particular fund, and I think my criticism was really legitimate. It was filtered out. It had 2 good and 2, filter out, so it got filtered out. Anyway, that's just one small little thing. Another would be, as a VCA, coming in and saying, "Oh, so and so had 15 or 20 proposals to do something, the same thing, but for different cryptocurrencies or whatever," and then you have a CA who's doing exactly cut and paste the same review, into all of those same things. Anyway, so do we filter it out? Do we not filter it out? It was a good review, but can you do it over 20 different things? I don't know. So anyway, just to illustrate for those who haven't been VCAs, these are the things that I was coming up against as a VCA and having to think through this and not knowing exactly, okay, should I really filter this out? Should I not filter this out? I don't think I filtered out anywhere near this 34% or whatever was in the chat. But let's just say there's so many problems that get thrown at you. People who you don't really think are writing about the proposal. So you have to go in and read it, of course, and align it and whatnot. So I don't know what to say, except that I think if there are VCAs who quote unquote work the system, if not game it, you get better and better as you do it, that's for sure. The more you do, the more expedient you can be. But I feel like I still don't know how it's physically possible for certain people to do so many of these. And I feel like one thing we could do, like I said before, was maybe institute having a comment. Why are you filtering this out? And it could be something that's very short, could be more thorough. And I want to reiterate one thing that I felt as a role as a VCA. A lot of people have to realize CAs can be anyone. They can be complete newbies, in a certain sense. They can be friends and proposers, as we know, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of things you have to think about. And also you have to, as I think of VCA, give feedback to them and say, and remind people, we're doing this for voters. We're not doing this because we think we're so smart and we have good answers. We're trying to make, reviews that actually help the person write a better review in the future for the voters, because I think my opinion is they're extremely important for voters, and the star ratings are extremely important, and they can be gamed, and our double check or whatever in a way, or not double check, maybe the VCA quality control is really important. So I don't know, but I feel like there's some ideas that we need to take. I do think the incentive thing is questionable, the reputation thing, etc. I don't know. I couldn't really make sense out of it. I read all the documents and I was participating in some of the conversations on Telegram and stuff, or at least reading them. And I can't wrap my head around it. I just try to do really good work. And if I don't align with the rest of the VCAs, okay. But I feel like, there's more room for Catalyst VCA school. Maybe even getting in and having, there were many, many times as a VCA, I really would have loved to have chatted with another group of people who, hey, what do you think about this? What would you do in this case, or whatever? So I don't know if there's some way to introduce that type of, I don't know, community involvement while we're undergoing the process of reviews. Just an idea. Anyway. Oh. Aha, Navid. Thank you. I did. Yeah, okay. Sorry. I'm done if anybody wants to comment or say something. Apparently I did filter out a lot, 39%. Okay, I haven't seen those, all that data. Cheers.
Thank you, Mike. Kevo.
Yeah, I will answer more in the terms of again an overview how I think we could constructively move on. And I'm not sure how constructive it is, but I want to a bit disorient you now because I'm gonna share. I don't know, actually, can I share screen? No, yes, I can. And show a Miro board.
I'm shocked to hear you say that, actually.
Same.
And so it is something I'm at least working on. I know a lot of people on different communities are basically taking specific issues. Like today, there was a huge emphasis on community advisor work and veteran community advisor work and what are the issues there. And I'm looking in terms of like a product. At the innovation fund for us is also a product, and there are like certain rules how it operates and timeline and stages. So here is the template where it comes from initial sharing phase, goes to this proposer, all of the stuff we mentioned today, and ending up with like bi-weekly meetings and how do we even finish project. So the entire goal of us here is to somewhat come up with cool ideas and share them out. And now all the other community members are, to my mind, is supposed to help to make these ideas clear. And VCAs are here to help to make sure that the standards we adopt and the way we interact with each other are built in through a feedback loop, and we help to like improve our own system in a sense. And then of course we have a governance layer and which kind of help to censor it and help to like even more coordinate it effectively, because there is a lot of time where we don't want to redo the same things and kind of want to streamline it, and centralizing actually helps with streamlining, even though we try to decentralize it. So it's basically we are centralizing to decentralize here. So that's like a basic overview, and this timeline and these roles we have in this in Project Catalyst. The way I try to help next few months is to go through these people who are interested to have these public meetings, for example, like here, and workshop through these stages and write down basically like pure facts and statements and rules we have on a existing platform. And then if you keep using the same standard, the same template, if I zoom out, you will see there are role perspectives, and there are these like unique aspects where today I was tried to do like problem sensing like overall, but since we only focused on a specific role today, so I didn't really take too many notes. But yeah, so the goal is to have same template, different perspectives, different like agendas, so that we could overlap and start seeing pain points. And that I think will start towards us to think proactively what happens if you do this, and where one of the goal is to also figure out how could we make it less waterfall effect on the Project Catalyst and more like agile effect, that when the proposal stage is happening, already community advisors are giving feedback, and already VCAs are giving feedback to the community advisors, not waiting for months like in specific dates and times to give feedback. And in order to streamline this process, you kind of have to understand the requirements and the tools and the documents we move around in order to capture all of that kind of intention and collaboration. And for this, I'm trying to create this like one huge hectic Miro board, which takes a lot of time to load, but has the information to able to see these kinds of relations and interactions between roles and activities.
So you're suggesting that as a group like this regularly comes together, we would map all of these sense things together, look at them and how they interrelate, and then move through solving for them in a more of a start to finish way, than meaning considering the impact of the decision made here on other places rather than section to section. Does that make sense?
Not sure I've followed, actually.
When we come together in these conversations, so we have different outcomes. We have this document. We spent the period of the Fund 8 assessment period logging stuff, right? So that has a document. We're looking at, we're collecting these things that we're sensing together and talking about them, figuring out what they affect, who they affect, what roles they affect. To Vanessa's opening point, like something that fixes something for in the CA role might really disrupt something over here in the proposer role. And we need to consider that as those changes are made, because it's very easy. Even if you hold both roles, you can upset yourself in a different area because of how you've made an adjustment. So
yeah. One good example, just last week, we kind of did the first iteration in a community swarm session where we tried to map out community advisor perspectives, and we ended up that it's also on the motherboard that in the end we moved almost all the activities into one stage. Like there is such a huge, but we expected, yeah, community advisor could share ideas and help in inside sharing stages, but there is no mandate to that. And they also might come too late, because most likely, most of the newest community advisor who join at the community advisor stage or just before. And then you kind of visually start seeing, if you all look at these proposals, that they're all like siloed in one place, and the cross-pollination doesn't happen. And yes, of course, we can say just that and write it down to the document, but I don't know, I'm a visual guy and I really like to see it like visually. And if we kind of, because we are rehashing the same issues we had last fund, and I mean, not all of them, but we kind of knew these kinds are gonna scale up and these are going to come when these rules are set. And in order to like workshop these kinds of meetings we had, if these are structured in a visual representation, we could start jumping through these issues much quicker than having a story or a narrative, which is also good. I think we need narratives and stories for the community to understand what we are doing here. But at some point, you also want to high speed, like a network where we take this issue and we already know what's happening, and you jump through the end of this collective opinion where already 50 or 100 people have agreed that this is an issue and this is where it leads and these are possible solutions, and now proposals coming out. And I think Miraboard is nice because you can like just shoot links everywhere and create this like crazy network of like documents and Miraboards and resources. But yeah, this is just one, like from one side vision, how I would like to see and how would I like to contribute and help to see that map of interactions in Project Catalyst.
Juan, you have your hand up. And I'll just add to that I think seeing the picture is one thing, but we period. And if those of us who are really passionate about certain parts of this don't find a way to come together and work on it in a way that has a beginning, middle, and end, it's really hard to move things forward. It's hard to move things forward in a big group like this, right? The purpose of this group is not maybe to solve these individual issues, but it is that we find them and figure out how to work together on them. And that is a really key part of this, because we could have a conversation like this ad nauseum. We could go to every single part of the process and talk about this till the end of time, but we need to be able to actualize. It's the big part of why we started to have the subcircle conversations in the CA and VCA groups, which could extrapolate out, or maybe not. Maybe there's other ways to do that. But you know, when we offer solutions and then don't become also champions for them, it's hard for that to move forward in a way that establish itself sooner than later. So I just say that out of my own desire to see things adjusted as well. So Juan, sorry to butt in on you there. Go ahead.
No, Nadia, thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about the name. You know, I see that since I came really late because I was at the Sala de Café helping host the meeting, but then for the LATAM community. But then, yeah, I noticed that the negativity and the kind of it has to do with I mean, the name is one of the things. We should try to put it that way. The other thing that I was thinking is that one of the is also responsibility as proposers, because if we are really you know, active and we do. Let me end this call. Okay. If we are
You're cut out a little bit, Juan, for me. Anyone else?
Me as well.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? If we are, can you hear me? No.
Yeah, we can hear you now, I think. I take it back.
Juan,
Turn
maybe
your
we'll,
video off.
yeah, turn your
and
video off.
Just do voice.
Juan, we'll come back to you. We'll take Michael and then maybe turn your video off and we'll come right back to you.
Hello. I'm still new here and I've been watching stuff, and I have an educational background, so that's the naturally the lens I bring to the whole question. And although especially today, I know also that there are other kinds of questions and issues going on that affect the whole thing, and that's very complex. All the same, it does still feel to me that there's sort of a training approach that could be applied here that would not make things worse, let's say, and kind of like a fresh lens to it. Where is my sound okay? Is the sound okay? Because I'm getting an echo.
Yes.
Yeah, somebody else is trying to talk at the same time you are. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, thank you. And it still seems to me, even though now that I've heard that there are all these other kinds of issues, especially with incentives and so on, but still that there are, it seems to me, a number of areas that this whole process could be improved with some training. And let's call that so that CAs are more qualified. And it seems to me that in turn, and actually we could also do training of proposers. And when I say training, I don't really mean a very formal approach, like a class per se, but more of a leveraging that social learning, having a curriculum where people, like just laying out some expectations of what people need to know how to do. And that then people could use the social learning approach to find out and go to their existing resources and all of that. And I haven't really, in the document that Nadia shared a little while ago of starting this breakout, the idea of training and learning and even testing is in the document. It's certainly been in the conversations over the months that I've been involved, but I haven't really heard anything more about that too much. And I'm very interested in that. And I have a proposal in on that to do a needs assessment, and we have a model for that. So I just want to put that out there again. I still think it would make sense to do this, and I don't think it would make things too much worse. So thanks.
How are we doing? Should we start to close things up here? Should we want to open a new topic? this is the space for suggestions, so I'll leave it.
I'm trying to take that file that Navid shared and just take that one sheet and put it in Google Drive and then share it in the somewhere in Discord. I don't know. Somewhere. Because we had this issue that we don't see the comments from VCAs.
We'll add one more issue here. If or after these all the Excel files are shared to Qatar's team and they make its way to your Mongander, or actually they don't make it, they do, like the assessments and even what status they are. I think we would need one database where we can call it, because right now, if you want to analyze, you have to manually do like hours of work to clean the data to put it in a correct way. But if I would have an API, I would like if they would have an API call to get all the information, the public information, then it will make it much easier to more lively interact with the assessors and VCAs while they do the work and as soon as they pretty much publish it. But I'm not sure how far or how feasible is that.
I don't think it's got very far. I did see, I think there's 3 dashboard type proposals in Fund 8. One of those might get funded. They didn't really have any content in them, but some people want to produce a dashboard. Myself and Victor have spoken about doing a similar thing, and we didn't get around to putting a proposal in for Fund 8, probably for Fund 9. So a lot of the work that I did is just in spreadsheets. Other people are doing the same thing, but I think you're right. Collecting a lot of that information into a single database with some sort of dashboard where you can drill down and up and down from trends across funds down to the individual fund, down to your individual performance. So if we could work out what the hell Navid was up to in Fund 7 compared to Fund 8, and how was his performance, that would be the ideal situation. At the moment, you're right, it's about drilling down into spreadsheets and trying to work out work out your own performance. So the link I shared earlier in the chat, the reason I originally did this in Fund 7 was really just to assess my own performance, and I learned so much just from taking a little bit of time to analyze what I did. What was I thinking was the main thing? So VCA feedback is not mandatory. It's never been mandatory, but trying to understand why people have filtered me out, or why somebody's marked myself as excellent, or why half the group is thinking one way and half the group is thinking another way. It really helps my own CA and VCA work, but also helps me to feed back into the process. So and similarly, that's why I commend the comment that Kareem made earlier about trying to now understand what you did, how do you get that feedback. And it's not ideal that we don't have VCA feedback comments in there. I think we tried to make them mandatory last time, but I think it was a session like this where got a bit of pushback and it felt like too much effort, so I gave up. So they were kind of highly recommended that the VCAs put comments, put feedback in. We may be hopefully going down the route of making it mandatory, and then the quality will come. So remember where we've come from. VCA feedback, and it is a gap. Comments are not mandatory. Accountability is not really there for VCAs. We've seen fund over fund, people just putting a tick in a box and collecting thousands of dollars and not being held accountable. It's definitely a gap to resolve. But I think there's a couple of things. If anybody wants to, I've done quite a lot of analysis on individuals, so it's fairly easy for me to understand. If anybody wants to understand their individual performance or ask questions about where do I go and look for something? I can't look through 150 spreadsheets. It's not that complicated because I spent the weekend putting some files together, so it's quite easy to see. But just feel free to reach out on Telegram or Discord and see if I can help you. That's it.
Ilya.
Hey guys, I really appreciate Navid's work, and I want to propose to find a way to finance Navid so he can deepen this research that he's doing. I find a lot of value in it. If Navid agrees, maybe he can make a proposal. I will be all for it. Or Nadia, if you have another means of supporting him, that will be great. Thanks.
Second that.
Zoe.
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize once more that very much we do is relying on collective thinking and stuff. And yeah, it's just some things are are driven more or contain more energy or something because they are incentivized. And yeah, just wanted to throw this thought into the round of this being a collective and acting as a collective in several steps. And yeah, so to really emphasize how big of a network it really is. And I sometimes get the feeling that this perspective gets a bit lost if we yeah, especially in this big amount of data. Yeah. My next challenge will be to find out where the VSA comments are. But yeah, and then I just wanted to say thank you for this amazing session. I took very much from it, and I'm very grateful that you are problem sensing, and this is awesome.
Thanks. Tommy.
Yeah, so answering Zoe, I shared this link earlier in the chat. Maybe I can share it again. So that's the one sheet from Navid's file, and it's not 250 megabytes, but it's 20. So you can actually filter your own assessor ID on that, and then you can see all your assessments you got from the VCAs. I noticed that about 5% of them have, less than 5% have actually given any explanation for the stuff. But yeah, there is something.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry that I missed this. If you could send it,
yeah, I'll
again,
put it
I
again.
would be so grateful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Juan, you're back. Go ahead.
Thank you, Nadia. Can you hear me better now? Great. So this is my time to shine, I guess. No, I just wanted to I'm completely ignorant of what discussion is being in this chat. But what I see is that it's very important for the part of the proposers to prepare and prepare the marketing part right from day zero. So when the proposal comes to the CA, I mean, it has lots of reviews already. and we proposers will have time to make the repairs. I mean, make the changes on the proposal. So that will alleviate a lot the work on the CA part, and yeah, like have a better outcome and kind of more positive attitude towards the proposals, and which I've been seeing great comments. I mean, every comment is very positive and very outgoing. But still, if the proposer prepares a little more, and have a little more time or awareness of what it is that is not suitable for the proposal, then the CA will have better experience doing the assessment. And that's it. This is what I made comment just for fun.
That's worth waiting for, Juan. Vanessa, Amelia, any comments or?
Not really. I'm just thinking, what are we going to do now? It feels like we've raised a lot of stuff, and yeah, it doesn't feel very clear where we're going to take it all. I mean, I guess some of it will go to the VCA, CA meetings that you've got planned already, but I don't know. Has anybody got any thoughts on that? Because it feels like all this energy and powerful commentary needs to have somewhere to go. We can't just leave it hanging.
Yeah.
I think from all that has been discussed, it's obvious that a lot of proposers are not really happy with the work that has been done. So there should be a serious education about how to CAs on board, how to train them, and even the VCAs, how to train them to assess properly, not just doing that, but to do it so that members will be proposers will know that they have been fairly assessed, and that will keep more people and grow the ecosystem, because that this Cardano blockchain. So if people are not satisfied and they leave, that will have a bad image on the ecosystem. So we have to do it well for Fund 9. Yeah, we have to do medication. Yeah, thanks.
Naveed or Vanessa? Naveed, you dropped off, so Vanessa, and then maybe Naveed comes. Whoever's next, go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just going to say that it feels like there are two parallel things here. It's kind of like we're thinking about what we can do in the short term to kind of get things better for Fund 9, and it's kind of tweaking the existing process. But then there's been some comments made about what would happen if we just rethought it completely or tried alternative funding processes. Personally, I'm feeling like I'd really like to get a load of proposers, funded and unfunded, in a room and just go, how would you like your proposals to be assessed? What are you feeling would be a good way that you would feel would hear you and would also be fair? Because I don't know, I'm just getting a feeling that proposers are saying, oh, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, but we're not getting a sense of what we could do different. So I don't know if anyone's interested in that.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that, to be honest. Personally, just as an overview for the way the process works, the idea that you're voting on I think this in the main town hall, you're voting on 1,000 proposals. That part right there at the start is wrong, right? Like, what you really want is, as a proposer, I want people to be interested in my proposal and just support the ones they want to support, right? So it's about attracting the user base as opposed to trying to win a popularity contest among 1,000 people, right? Like, I'm just trying to get a concentration of dedicated users who say, focus some funds my way and we'll get this going and we'll build up the community on that. I think the whole voting process is not, it doesn't suit anybody. It doesn't suit voters. It doesn't suit proposers. It doesn't suit CAs or VCAs. I think there needs to be a rethink about how that is done. All right. So I personally look at it and say, it's like, what's the value of me voting on, well, especially with the whales, right? Like, what's the value of me voting on, 100 proposals even, right? I want to just pick the ones and say, I want to support this, and let's allocate some funds towards this. My percentage is 0.01%. I want to direct 0.01% of the treasury funds to that proposal or this group of proposals. That's really where I'd like to see things go.
You brought up something interesting. Now I'm like, when it started, like this fund 3 or something, I felt like we might need to start thinking about how do we put these participants to put skin in a game, not just in time, but also in some kind of intrinsic value. But I know this is a very controversial topic in a sense. Oh, now I do have to pay ADA to propose or pay ADA. And that's like, the pay number is like very limiting. So, and now I feel like, yeah, we still want to just grow and expand and keep it permissionless in a sense. But it's going to be more and more easier to start thinking about, okay, what are the barriers? Because I don't know, sometimes it feels like we are just carrying too huge weight, and when as soon as we allow like a single person to do something, it just turns somehow into lots of issues. And this is maybe not the best. So yeah, it's hard to kind of direct because there are so many things we could do. Personally, I would like if every challenge has its own rules, and then we just make it even more chaotic, but we have so much more examples to play around with.
It'd almost be cool to have like a wild idea session, right? If we could all come in here and we just go like, "That is a wild idea. What if we do this?" And then, because I feel myself trapped in, I said this to someone earlier, that like some parts of the process feel like a boat that has been patched too many times. We keep patching this boat, then you just need a different boat. And you can apply that to different things based on what your pain points are personally. But it'd be great to just be like, what if we didn't even have a boat and we just did this? No, you just completely reimagine. Not because you're going to necessarily do it, but for the sake of just having a good time being creative about thinking about this. And it's really like to the problem and solution comments in the chat too, which I totally vibe with. It's like when you have a problem, you're like encumbered by this problem, then you have to fix it. It's like sometimes it's fun, but sometimes it's really grating and difficult and hard, and it comes with like people being frustrated with each other, and you'd rather just throw in the towel on that specific thing. And sometimes we do, and we just kick it. But it would be neat to just have to focus on having a good, enjoyable, fun time with each other, and think about what are some wild ideas we can come up with, and what do we do that went well, and how can we just enjoy the process of this? Because it's pretty phenomenal, even though it's got all of its flaws. Like just the sense of us sitting here together and talking about this is pretty insane that we all have decided to come here and do this and look at each other like this and work on something. And so I don't want that to get lost in when we do these sensing sessions, because it can get heavy too. And it's I think maybe a good balance. Vanessa, go ahead.
I'm going to propose that we go with your idea of a wild ideas session, but if there's this many people, I think we should have breakout rooms so that people kind of all get a chance to chip in. I think that'd be cool. When are we going to do it?
It doesn't feel good either when you keep innovating something that doesn't make that much of a difference, right? So we solved some stuff.
True.
Yeah, we solved some stuff here. Like I saw in the chats, like it sounds like I didn't miss anything in these meetings. To a certain extent, I feel like so much great stuff happened. And also like sometimes you don't feel that at all, or you've innovated something, but in the end, it doesn't have the impact that you thought it was going to. And you can evaluate that and say, we spent a lot on this. What did this accomplish? Did it change it for us? And so I will be down for a wild idea session, and maybe it can come with its roots in some of these things. And instead of trying to fix stuff, we're trying to like just, you know, finger paint a little bit. Sorry to be childlike. Eric.
Well, I think the first wild idea should be not to have the breakout room direct after a Wednesday session. Because the thing is that there's a lot of people that come to these Wednesday things and they drop into these things just to vent. The people that actually still cares and really want to do these things, they're right here, right now. So if you do it on an off time, Tivo and we meet on Saturdays, for instance, but you know, do it on all off time, and the people that really care about this, they will be there. Thank you.
Yeah, so exploring the Discord for the CAVCA Discord. You guys have events in there already, and you're rolling with those. Looks like you're having your second weekly call on Friday. So you're just starting doing weekly calls. This is what I've seen in the last several months to the comments. So it hasn't changed in the since the last time I was here. I've been out for a few months. Well, the difference is there actually are people meeting regularly to talk about these things between, and it wasn't that way in Fund 7. And so yeah, if we want to have a idea session, you need to get with whoever's doing those weekly calls and Discord events and add it to one of those regular sessions. And that'd be the, I mean, I haven't been to you guys' meetings, so I don't want to be like, hey, so you should do the meeting or anything. But if there's regular times, go for it.
I want to give like a big shout out to Scott for building the server, and a lot of help went to him from that, but he really did that work. And there's a standing for this purpose. There's a standing Tuesday at 13 UTC and Friday at 21 UTC. Hopefully I didn't cross my ESP
23,
and my UTC.
2300.
23, thank you. That's it. 2300 UTC on Friday. So those always exist, and we try to hash out and get into things in those. But I do think that we could use those, and that's a welcome invite. But also, like, is your suggestion, Eric, that we like pick, like we hold like kind of an event type of a thing, like we look at something in the future and we say like, this is a wild idea session and we're going to come together and just talk about crazy wild ideas that are fun? Or what's your saying?
Oh, were you asking me? Oh, do the time random so people don't know where it is. That would be a crazy idea. So like one Tuesday at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the next one on Friday at 5 in the afternoon, right?
Hide the invite under a rock? Is that what you should do?
Exactly. No, I just think that there's some fantastic people in here, and they're doing great jobs and really, really, really care. But after these sessions meetings on Wednesdays, I've noticed that there's a lot of emotions going on, and when those emotions get in, you want to vent it. So we spend 2 hours just listening to the people of vent. They should have their opportunity to vent, obviously, but it's not very constructive for what the rest of us are trying to accomplish. So having a time that is just for crazy thoughts and all of these things, I think should be outside of that time period. I haven't been to all of the meetings with TiVo, but I can say that we are usually maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys, but it's extremely constructive during that time. And well, you're obviously seeing what TiVo shows, so you can see what's going on there. And I like those sessions.
Thanks for chilling. I wanted to also add that when people say that and nothing really changes, I think to me, it all again kind of comes back to this Marburg, where when I do these things, somebody mentioned like collective knowledge. One thing I don't like to do is just to do something and then share and give a big presentations. What I do like to do, hey, let's get together. Here's a blank board. Let's fill it out and guide ourselves through questions. And when I have been doing these things, like I think every fund, you kind of look back what's changed, and there is so many additions. I think this fund 8, there was more additions than I actually was able to like capture, because I also try to like capture changes and resources provided. And there was so many, and now the community also is rising up and creating these guides and directions and the ways they onboard people. Like to me, actually, yesterday I talked with Joram, who is from climate change, and we just shared like how to introduce people to the Project Catalyst, and I never thought of like onboarding companies, and even didn't know there are slide decks for that, and that was like great way to kind of again inspire me to think differently, to put like presentation and see to like how much we have expanded. I don't know when the challenge setting of CA's like improvement challenge setting came out, but I think this was this fund. I mean, I'm not sure, was it also last fund there? And this, because it's some funny to think about it, but we are like failing, and then these community members like learn, oh, we actually have to put challenge settings in ourselves, and then we had so many issues, and then okay, what actually we should have is challenge settings about improving the way we coordinate, not creating another DeFi dApps and open source, because in the end we want open source in that. Okay, there are other perspectives, yes, but we are still learning, and we're doing it in a waterfall method. So think about, we're just 7 meetings in, because it's 7 funds done. But if you kind of encapsulate waterfalls, it's like huge stuff is happening. It takes you months to analyze what changed, and now is already a new fund is with like constant like in like a wheel which is going, and like crazy stuff is happening. So I'm very happy that I'm not able to catch up with all the improvements happening, but yeah. So and still I agree with the statement sometimes that like nothing is changing. It is, I know it's an old feeling, but it only happens in Project Catalyst, and like seeing this bunch of people growing, the number of people having these kinds of discussions is just an amazing. How do we gonna like scale and adapt our workflows is something we will figure out probably in like 6 months. Oh, we have 40 people in the team now. I know what questions we can start, how we icebreak, how we coordinate, and I think this kind of facilitation skills also come over time.
Tiva, I just want to add what you said about companies. You know, I actually was in a meeting just recently where the companies that are working with Sam's Club and Walmart, and they want to build some NFTs. And for the first time, they actually even thought about inviting Cardano. And so, yes, I mean, when you start seeing big companies like that coming in and being interested, then there needs to be structure on the other end, on our end. And I think that they are seriously interested in what we're doing. But anyway, that's beside the point. We can talk about that Saturday.
We're all crashing the Saturday meeting. Is that what we decided here? So I'm gonna leap into that one.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you're welcome, but Tiva's running it, so.
No, we are running it together. Everybody who joins will be part of decision making. But also, of course, I have guardrails. I have sticky notes to follow. And
okay.
Take us on the ride. Take us on the ride.
I like the ride. That's good. I'm conscious of Zoe's comment that we've been here for quite a long time. I always enjoy being here quite a long time with all of you. And then all of a sudden, my husband's like, are you gonna leave your desk? Like, no, I'm not going to, which is funny, but it's not. So Scott and then Zoe, and then maybe we can, why don't we give ourselves like a few minutes to sort of wrap up and figure out what we're gonna do here as a result.
For those that want to, I don't know, have this ride, participate and ride, I guess that's what we'll go with. If you can log into the Discord server and or just pay attention there in the Discord server to the announcements, because I'll put up like a when to meet so people can put their hours. That way we know. That way we can accommodate as many people as possible for the event. And if y'all want to have like a true event for it, if you want to have an unsync, then we can set up a thread for that as well. So anyway, I'll set up a when to meet, put in announcements, and just fill it out. And that'll be on the CAVCA hub. More people to fill it out. If you don't fill it out, then your hours won't be, we won't know your availability, and the meeting will not be most likely accommodating to you. So appreciate it. Thanks.
Zoe.
Yeah, just because you said you like the long meetings, I do so too. I really love like hyper focus and stuff. But it's not about how long you have the meeting. It's about how you really organize the breaks and stuff. And I just wanted to say that I didn't mean that we should cut off the meetings or something. I really just meant, I mean, I could go on for days like this, but with breaks, you know. Yeah.
anybody wants to join a full-on mini proposal workshop, and minimum amount of hours is 8 hours in row. It was a great experience. The proposal gets ready.
8 hours to write a proposal is probably pretty good. If it's end to end.
Juan.
Thank you, Nadia. I just want to comment the work you've been doing. It's great. I think that this is the way you can sense better what is going on in the community, especially with your assignment, you know, with Boris. I mean, proposals. So great. Thank you so much for being involved. And yeah, very impressed. Learning a lot.
This was a really good one, wasn't it? Or has been, continues to be. Vanessa. You're muted still if you're talking.
Hi, yeah, I just think we might have to think a little bit about how we include proposers, both funded and unfunded. Because the fact is, some of them are CAs and they will be in that channel if they're interested, but some of them are not, and they've got things to say. And like I've said before, it's quite a diverse, it's not really a community because they're in competition with each other. So there are difficulties with bringing them together, I feel. But I don't know if having an event that is kind of organised from the CA channel is like the best way to hear their voices. So I don't know. I mean, for me personally, because I'm a CA as well, it doesn't really worry me, but I do have a sense that there are people that this won't reach. And I'm just wondering, would it be possible for this kind of Wild Ideas event to be just not as part of anything and just a special event that just happens separately and is advertised everywhere. I just think it might draw in some new voices.
Strikes me like kind of like an idea fest kind of a thing where we have a, it's a sort of everyone comes who wants to kind of an energy.
Yeah.
And then we can promote it in those places. I think I agree with that too. I might not find myself, if I'm thinking about contributing and I don't have the role where it's being hosted, that alone might just be like a marketing conflict in my head about it. So let's figure that out. I mean, we could just do a Zoom and promote it in different places and have it be a day and put it up. I'll stop. Go ahead, Henry.
Real quick, I don't think you really need to promote it. People that are interested are going to find it out themselves. If we start the group, what is the old saying? If you build the field, they'll come, right? So and then again, if you start promoting it, you're going to get everybody and nobody in there. But if you just let it grow by itself, the people that are interested and really want to participate, they will be there because they are going to be hanging out with this group of people or finding out from this group of people. That is my take on it. I started up a meetup group here in the city I live in Arkansas, and in just 3 months we have over 100 participants. But that's all word of mouth. So and people that want to know, they will come. They will. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess by promoting, I'm just saying like sharing it. Like we need to have a way that people can find the link. I don't know. This is for this group to talk about. Do we need to just make a Zoom link and say, hey, at this time, come on, and we just share it person to person, or what's the most sort of broad and accessible way, Henry? Henry, go ahead.
I don't mean to be a loser here. I just wanted to plug Toxica, watching it now. Go out and watch it. Thanks.
You get the award for the briefest comment today. Thanks. Is that it for you? You're good? All right, Zoe.
I just wanted to comment on what Eric said about the promotion. I don't see promotion and just spreading across different channels because the community is operating on different channels. I don't see this as promotion because it just is that we don't have one platform, but several and many channels, many servers and stuff. And I think that it should be promoted because you want to really give everyone who happens to not have a Discord or happens to not be on Telegram, which I certainly understand. Just to give them the chance to also take part. And I think that making the meeting on Zoom is already very good because obviously we all have Zoom. But yeah, just to emphasize the fact that the community is distributed on different platforms.
Yeah, today morning, I was listening 4 hours of the Space Pods, or I don't know, Space Place, I don't know how it's called, which is also another community from ITN stage, where because the stake pool operators are also a big part of Cardano, and yes, it shows that there are so many other discussions and issues, and in some reason the time zone differs so much, and we have others. So even the time zone is siloing us in somehow, and it's interesting to see that. But I'm glad that we record and share, because somehow this community just likes to produce content.
Well, it comes to picking times to do it, there are common times the community already has events. And that's between 1500 UTC and 1800 UTC, and maybe 20. So
I like to get up 3 a.m. to go to Pacific Town Hall. That was a good experience.
Yes. And then if yeah, those are common times. And then if we want, because Tivo, you're right, we do also silo around time zones, but one thing that you want, it's incredibly hard to get any group of people to come together and pick a time to meet asynchronously using some tool or anything. So it comes down to maybe we need to have a little ideation session about how we want to host that meeting, and then it's who can host and when are they available, and that ends up being more of a that's an important component for actually making these types of events occur.
And something to mention, we vote with our presence, not just our state. All right, I just step out. You can't see my.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like you want to try to pick a time and just wing it and invite people? Should we come away from this, meditate, contact each other telepathically, hope it works out?
Yeah, this is why I was like, you should try to get people to come to your weekly meetings, because that's real. Until you get people coming to places where decisions can be made like over time with people, it's hard to do coordination, especially at all.
I suggest people to join when live stream is happening for the Qatar circuit. I think that's also where people should be if they are able to.
For the
Like
live
Peter
stream?
said. Yeah, and then comment, and I think Ruth is doing a great job picking up these live interactions and like comments on actually constructive, facilitated coordination of meetings, and I think this combination is quite nice. But I know it's a hard work, but you are incentivized to help it and make it happen. So good job so far.
Okay. I always want to put a button on things, but I'm trying not to do that. But what do you guys want to do here? We lost half our people here from this conversation anyway, so I think if we made a do you want to make like a schedule poll? You want to just throw something up? You want to just let it kind of re-manifest itself? What do you want to do?
I think Scott should do what he said he was going to do. See what happens there. That could help. And then I'm going to try and show up to the Tuesday meeting. The Friday meeting is far too late for me. But
yeah, cool. There's a good little group that comes regularly to that, so it could be the beginning of something. We could also put it in a different space if we want to do that, because
move it. Yeah,
totally.
if you need to. That you have a small group running already. And as more people add to it, that group can decide to move its time, whatever. It's great.
Yep. I'm keen on Vanessa's comment though about, this really should have proposers. And I thought we started talking about like having a wild event meeting just for fun. Like we're just gonna come and hang out. Now it's starting to feel like very ominous and administrative-y, right? So like we could just say, hey, let's just get together and we're gonna talk about wild ideas. And when I'm gonna meet a second time, this is like, no 4-year-old plans ahead. They're like, give me the paint, let's do it. It's not like, so that's what I was saying it from. Not that we should have like some regular meeting of talking about this. I think naturally things would spark from that, and it should feel fun and lighthearted and good. And also we got a lot of stuff to do for this fund. So, but maybe we don't, I feel like we do. Maybe that's my narrative and we don't actually. Maybe there's nothing to do and everything's fine. Like, I don't know. So these are the musings I come to after 4 hours of meetings.
We don't want any fun, Nadia. No fun. It's terrible. We don't want any.
No fun. Yes.
All right. Well, there it is. If we really want to do it, one of us will do it, right? One of us will suggest it and the rest of us will do it. Is that kind of like accurate? Okay, good. So I'll
the spark lives in your hearts.
Well, I'll leave it there then. We have this document open, which I think Thibaut, I'm going to start working with you on that. I'll be excited to like hop into that process because I think those things could definitely merge and start to like at least want to log some of these things that have happened so that we know about them and I don't know. Let's just yeah. That's it. I don't know. I'm just filling space right now with words. Go ahead. Anyone else want to add anything? Fun decompression-like event. Yes, Jeremy.
Have a nice sleep. And see a lot of ideas and proposals in your mind.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Thanks, Danny. Bye, Danny. Thank you.
I have a quick question, and this might be off topic, or it might be something that was mentioned in the town hall that I was in the other room for a minute. But are there any dates for Fund 9 yet? I have people asking me. I'm recruiting people for Fund 9 already that are not in our community, and do we have dates for Fund 9 yet of when anything starts?
Go ahead, Danny.
Before I drop off, we have a final meet tomorrow to discuss some adjustments on the timelines. So that's why they haven't been announced, where we're looking into different things like cooldown periods and maybe extending some of the elements like within the SSQA stage as well. So it's in the final stages of giving us that little breathing room in line with the funding fatigue line, the conversations that we've been having over the past couple of weeks. So I would imagine we would have a good confidence next week during the town hall to be able to announce what that adjusted timeline may be. Fingers crossed. I'm trying to get everyone in the same room tomorrow. So fingers crossed, and that's the big task for tomorrow on our end. But that's the holdup, essentially, trying to see where that fits over the summer, because there's lots of DRAP consideration, voting center and everything, which makes Fund 9 a little bit more special than everything else in order for us to deliver a bunch of those features as well. So next week on Wednesday, I'm hoping that we will be able to present that final timeline.
Okay, cool. I see everybody in the chat, having no fun, having a slow fun. Okay. I get it.
There might be a day or two when there will be nothing happening. So fingers crossed. I hope I make that case tomorrow. So wish me luck. All right. Good luck.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
We should take 6 years to fund the proposal and call it the Ghost Fund.
The Ghost Fund?
No, but I actually think it would be interesting if there was a break in funding. I mean, that's just coming to my head right now. It's not like I had any thoughts about it. So if it sucks, I'm sorry. But if there was a break in like funding rounds and you just took a month or two to do a catalyst like proposer, like not Catalyst School, but where you had to go through a course, you know what I mean? Where you went through kind of like an academy or whatever, you know what I mean? Like that would be cool. Because instead of like reverse engineering everything and trying to like fix from the CA perspective, like if you fix the proposer, and I'm talking about myself, if you fix us, then there's, I mean, then it's going to be easier to do all the other stuff.
It's kind of actually hard to find people who are willing to create guiding materials and also facilitate them. And the people who started it are now getting so much feedback, and their proposals are also, because they know how it works, they get funded, and the more they get funded, the busier they are. And I don't know, somehow it's hard to kind of balance this kind of educational stuff. It's a lot of work and takes time, and I don't know.
Well, that's why I'm saying like there should be modules, you know what I mean? Like pre-recorded modules that take a person through something, and you have to, it has to show that you've taken these modules, and there's quizzes after every module or something, and you don't have to have a person walking you through it.
Next
you know what I mean?
Friday, 17 UTC, if anybody's interested, I'm gathering a group to create an introduction to Project Catalyst educational courses. So it includes like few-minute videos. It's a module. It's going to be in a Catalyst School website, which is, I think, not public yet. Lucio was here, but I see dropped off. And yeah, so basically this is happening. If anybody wants to join, but yeah. So
it's Friday at 1700. You said it was Friday at 1700. You see, okay. Got it.
And there was Michael here who was talking about the same thing, that you would have like curriculum.
Well, and the thing is that it would be cool if it wasn't just a curriculum that was optional. Like in order to make a proposal, you have to show that you've taken some sort of class or something.
Interesting. I definitely think we need to make sure, I've been seeing Michael around recently, and he's definitely the person who's got the most energy in this category right now, consistently over time. So, and Dana, you've been talking about this for a while, and as far as educational stuff. So I'm ready to get on it. Let's go, guys.
And when it comes to this reputation system and like proving that you have gone through all this stuff and you have jumped through the hoops, check out the Remark NFTs, Dana. The Remark NFTs are awesome. You can have like visual presentation of a nested NFT that develops over time and becomes something else over time. So that could be something really cool, but maybe one day we have something as cool in Cardano also.
Cool. I was on mute. Thanks. Remark NFTs. I think you sent me something.
All right, guys. So, any other last stuff here? Start to draw to a close.
I'm creating a Swarm link for the school session.
For the what?
The Catalyst School introduction guidance discussion. How do we create the content, and how many modules, what sequence, etc. the
No,
working
I
group.
think it'd be nice to have a broader one too for other because we could have VCAs, we could have CAs. Like there's long been a call for CAs, short modules of teaching rather than a big guide to read. So perhaps anyone who could make a case for following a model of modules with short instructional stuff people could take in over time that would lead them to having accomplished an if then kind of a thing. If you do this, then you can do that. I think that would be really, really fantastic. And we wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel, and we could use the same structure as a beginning.
I don't know. I when I think of it, I think of like interface. There's existing interface for the infrastructure available to us today. But when the curve is curving as fast as it is, and the power exists so concentrated in so few hands, how can we leverage the decentrality through interface that is effective to crunch that curve to an extent that gives us, whoever we may be, that edge to balance the actual risk associated with a curve that is curving as fast as this exponential singularity-esque on the horizon, the implications, the ramifications, the inevitability of what an effective interface. For instance, on Zoom, I find it terribly frustrating, but I cannot modulate the volume of the Zoom app easily. I cannot turn down the volume. You'd like to turn my volume down right now a little bit and have it not affect the classical music that you're playing in the background, or the fact that Zoom insists that HD must be the quality of each one of your rectangles. Why can I not select 144 if I'm in the boonies and have not enough Wi-Fi connection and it's just crap? It's just crap. So these are like interface. It's irrelevant, it's off topic, but that's just what's on my mind. Interface. When the advisors, how can we leverage their, effect, right? We need them to have a greater effect because there aren't enough of them to do. It's a matter of interface. It's a matter of interface. If you told me that, some, what an ape NFT or what some hot NFT were selling, and there were how many of them that were selling, as many proposals that needed to be, they would sell. They just sell. It's done. It's done. Why is there a problem? Because there is a lack of interface that is effective. It's that simple. It's that simple. But we're just so early on. It's been like a year. It's been like a year, guys. That's all. That's it.
Okay, that's my cue. Good night.
And see ya.
Bye, Tom.
Bye. It was nice to listen in.
All right, guys. So we'll close it out here. I'll stop the recording.